Hi everyone, Shane R. Monroe here, and today we're going to show you how to maximize your Deluxe Galaga setup using Amiga Forever version 9, the amazing turnkey emulation package for the Commodore Amiga. So let's get started. So you probably were saying to yourself, but Shane, I already know for a fact that Deluxe Galaga is already set up inside of Amiga Forever. One of the things we're going to be doing is we're going to be using an Elite controller. I'm sure you're probably using an Xbox controller on your PC of some sort at this point. So one of the things we want to do is make sure that that controller is set up to give you maximum feature set while playing the game. And also we're going to look at a couple of settings that might make the game better for you. Now, I've already made a copy here of my Deluxe Galaga. I'm going to recommend that you do the same. I will delete my copy for now, just so we can sort of start fresh. So go into your Amiga files, go to Games, and then right-click on Deluxe Galaga and create a copy of it. And then you can go in and edit it if you want them to look side by side. You got to get rid of that copy of. So I like to go in and that way that they sit side by side. Now, you may not want them to sit side by side so you don't get them confused, or you could change this title screen or whatever you wanted to do. We talk a little bit about that in one of my other videos. But let's go ahead, take a look at this copy. We'll edit the copy. The first thing you want to do is go to this Configuration tab. Compatibility Custom is fine. Click these little three dots. Uncheck the No High Res option. It's not going to affect how the game looks or plays, but it will allow you to turn on Scanlines, which we'll also show you how to do in a minute, for those of you who are interested in the Scanline option. But it doesn't hurt either way to have that turned off. Then we're going to go to Input, and at the bottom we have Virtual Buttons. We're going to go ahead and add a virtual button. You can go ahead and leave everything as sort of defaulted. The action we're going to do is we're going to take button 7, and we're going to assign it to a keyboard device, and we're going to assign it to the letter P for pause. We're then going to add another one, button 6. We're going to make that the escape key. And then finally, we'll add another one, and we'll make this button 5. And we'll make this the E key, which lets you toggle music versus sound effects. So now we have everything set up here. That will correspond to buttons on the controller, and we'll look at that in just a minute. And so we're done here. We can go ahead and hit OK. So now our copy is ready to roll. If you want to turn on Scanlines, go to Tools, Options, Emulation, and scroll down. And as you may have guessed, this Scanline option is across the entire Amiga Forever package. So it doesn't just affect Deluxe Galaga. I would like to be able to turn on Scanlines on a per game basis, but this is what we've got. So I'm going to go ahead and leave Scanlines on for our first run just so you can see what the Scanlines look like. And now we're all configured. We're ready to go. We have a pause button on our controller. We have an escape button on our controller. And we have the ability to turn music on and off with the controller. So we shouldn't have to go to the keyboard unless we're entering our name for the highest score at the end. All right, so let's launch this guy and we'll take a look. We'll show the Scanlines and we'll show you a couple of other things while we're in Scanline mode. Then I'm going to turn them off because Scanlines are really only there for nostalgia purposes. They don't really affect the game too much. So as you can hear, the music is the default. And while the music is fine, I much prefer to have sound effects on. So if you hit down on your joystick or your controller, go down here, you can toggle music or sound effects on or off. Now, we've actually mapped a button for that. So you can see left bumper turns the music on and off. So you can do that in the middle of the game or however you want to do it. I like just sound effects. I don't need the music in the background. But this menu can be had at the title screen or anywhere in the attract mode. You can just hit down on your controller and it will bring this up. 1 player, 2 player, yes, you can play 2 players simultaneous. We're going to leave it in normal mode. And these defaults will come up next time, which is kind of cool. But I'll show you there's something you have to do first. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to exit the game now. And the game doesn't really have anywhere to go. It just sits here sort of in limbo. So you do have to go in and close the window. Now, it's going to ask you, because there has been modifications made to that hard drive image file that this game sits in, if you want to commit those or not. If you do not commit those, all of those settings will be reverted. So I'm going to go ahead and commit. That way, the next time we run, all of my changes will be set. I'm going to go back and turn the scan lines off. It's great to play like on a big screen on a TV, but in all honesty, here in front on a computer monitor, for this demo especially, scan lines are neither required nor desired. So let's take another look, and don't worry, I'm going to go like a more full screen mode here when we actually start looking at the game. So now your controller, if it maps the same as mine, the select button will actually pause the game, and the left bumper will be escape. The left bumper is audio toggle, right bumper is escape, which will let you start the game over again. So as you can see here, there's no music playing, so everything got set. Had you chose a different mode, it would have also been preserved. And the other kind of neat thing about that is if we do go ahead and hit escape, and we'll leave the game again. Now you'll notice it's not going to, it does ask us to config. I don't know why that is. That shouldn't have happened. But you can say yes or no. I'll go ahead and commit it because I don't know what I changed. But anyway, we'll go back in again. And I wanted to show you that one of the advantages of having everything pre-configured is that you can jump right into the game from the title screen. You don't have to bring up that menu or do anything. As soon as you're on this title screen, just hit fire and you're in the game, which is perfect. That's the way you want it. You want all of your settings set up, and you want to be able to jump right in the game. And again, we can hit escape. And during the game, if we hit escape, it brings us back to the title screen. If you're in the attract mode or the title screen, then if you hit it again, it will say quit yes or no. You can move right to say yes, or left to say yes, right to say no. So I'll just say no, and then you're back at the title screen. So the game is pretty much fully controllable by the controller, so you don't ever have to go back to the emulator to really do anything, and most of the time you don't have to go back to the keyboard either, which is very much what we're looking for. All right, so that's pretty much the setup here. So you have an optimum setup. You have the screen resolution set the way that you want. You've got scan lines on or off at your disposal, and you have those virtual buttons that have already been pre-configured. So now let's just take a quick peek at the game itself. Now, this may look a little different than the last time you played it, because this is, I'm going to go ahead and hit pause, which by the way is the select button the way that I mapped it. This is the ultimate version of Deluxe Galaga. What makes this any better than a version of Deluxe Galaga maybe you've played in the past when you were dabbling in Amiga emulation, or you got it off of your Raspberry Pi emulation package? This is the definitive Deluxe Galaga. So over the years, there have been ECS versions of Deluxe Galaga, or regular Amiga 500, Amiga 2000, whatever, ECS versions of Deluxe Galaga. There's also an AGA version, or Advanced Graphic Architecture version, which this is. And the big denoting of that is that warp, the little warp thing that was flashing as we first entered the game. That looks completely different in AGA. It looks a lot better. In fact, the whole game looks a lot better in AGA. So you want to use an AGA copy. You also want to use a hard drive version of the game, which is not nearly as easy to set up, because anytime you start involving a hard drive, you then have to involve a Workbench operating system, which of course is owned by Cloanto. So unless you happen to actually own it, you're probably pirating it if you're using it on your Raspberry Pi or something of that nature. You also need the kickstarts, of course. Yes, I know that there are kickstart replacement ROMs, but in all actuality, if you really want a turnkey, best version possible of Deluxe Galaga, with the AGA chipset version, with the hard drive install version, which has the audio packs, you heard that, get ready? She's going to be telling us stuff throughout the game. The audio packs, extended music packs, all of these things, it's not possible without the hard drive edition. The floppy drive version is just so pared down. This is the version you want to be playing, regardless of what emulator you're using. This is the version you want to play. And outside of Amiga Forever, it is not the simplest thing to put together. But the truth is, Deluxe Galaga is, if not one of the best shooters out there. Period, regardless of system. And this is, of course, subjective. Some of you are bullet hell people, and in some cases, this actually fits that bill. My point is, though, is this game is so loaded with objectives, secrets, collectibles, greed. Everything that makes the best possible video game is in this video game. So there's no reason not to want to play this edition and this game. So we could go in here and we could play for a little bit, but I'd rather save the long-term gameplay for another video. So I think I'm going to end this one here. It's about 15 minutes. I'd like to be able to get everybody configured up, running the best possible version of Deluxe Galaga, which is this one. Your controller is fully mapped out. Everything is everything. And we'll also look at doing this for a two-player simultaneous scenario, because the only thing better than playing Deluxe Galaga on the couch is playing Deluxe Galaga on the couch with a friend sitting next. The dynamics of the game shift significantly when you move to a two-player simultaneous gameplay. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. Please like, subscribe, check the bell. You already know what you're doing with all of that. Just hang out, because we're going to have another video coming up shortly. We're going to talk about the secrets behind Deluxe Galaga. We're going to show you some of the gameplay elements. We're going to show you some things you probably never saw. And we're going to talk about how these secrets and how these extras, if you will, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Bob's your uncle, the extra features of this title and what makes it so great, what makes it so addictive, and why you should be playing it right now. So stay tuned for that video coming up next. I'm Shane R. Monroe, and as always, thanks so much for watching.